Welcome to MorFab Industries. I'm Justin, and before we get this video started, I just wanted to go over something real quick with you guys. Now, going through my analytics of my channel, I'm seeing that close to 90% of the views on my videos are views from non-subscribers. So I'll ask you this favor. If you guys are watching the videos and you enjoy what you see, please click that subscribe button. I won't ask you to turn on notifications because those can get annoying, but if you could do me the favor, please hit that subscribe button for me. It means the world to my channel, and I appreciate you guys watching the video. So, before this video gets started, click that subscribe button, and let's go. What's going on, everybody? If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're not a subscriber, welcome to MorFab Industries. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Like I said in the intro, it is ultra important that you guys do that for me. I would appreciate it like more than you absolutely can imagine. But anywho, today's video is going to be us repairing a titanium exhaust. And if we could all just have a moment of silence for this exhaust. All right, so this exhaust, you guys may recognize it if you follow me on Instagram, and I think I actually did a video of it at one point. This exhaust goes onto this pretty kick-ass little Legacy we have over here. This is a good friend of mine, and his car is pretty sick. I mean, these Legacies, you don't often see them done up. It's usually WRXs and stuff, so props to him for building a Legacy, because this thing, when it's all together, it's a badass looking car. But problem is, I kept trying to get him to raise it because it was too low. And unfortunately, because of that lowness, this flange right here caught on the trailer, bent the exhaust here, shoved the whole thing back, which in turn cracked it at the weld right there, and did a few other things. Now, we have repaired this before. That's one of our repairs right there. That was one of our repairs because it was dragging on the ground. And I think we had a repair somewhere in one of these areas. But cool thing is what we're going to do today is we're actually going to fix this using hydraulics. And a lot of times, you know, repairing tubing and stuff like that is done with like, you know, pipe expanders and various other odds and ends. But we are not going to be able to use a pipe expander because most of the damage on this pipe is in bends. So we're going to have to come up with a pretty interesting idea to repair this. And also, too, you could say, well, just cut it and put new, you know, whatever. But this is all special size piping, and it's just, it's one of those exhaust systems that it literally should be just buried and a new one purchased. But you know how I roll, and we like to try to fix things, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to set everything up, and then we'll bring you guys back when we actually start repairing this thing. All right, guys, so first thing first is we need to get this massive bend out of here. And you can see it literally tacoed the pipe. So we got to try to get that out of there, try to get that straightened out without destroying this thing. And the way we're going to do that is hydraulically. Now, I'm sure some of you have seen these devices before. This is called a porta-power or a frame jack or whatever you want to call it. But it's used a lot in straightening frames and, you know, a bunch of other stuff like that. But what we're going to attempt to do is I went ahead and machined a little piece of aluminum here, which has made it flat on one end. We're going to put it on top of this, and then we can run that down inside of our tubing, and this rounded edge will give us a nice smooth surface to actually start pushing on this titanium with. And if you watch as we pump the handle, that's going to open up. So we will be able to effectively straighten that piece of pipe out. And now what that's also going to do is by pushing on this, it's going to squeeze this back into line, and hopefully we can get this thing round. So I'm going to set the camera up, get you guys brought in here, and we'll be able to see if this is actually going to work or not. So we're going to stop there because I think we did, if I can get you guys out of the shadow. How about this? Too bright? Yeah, way too bright. All right. So we got this dent that was right here that was huge. We got that completely out. We also got that fold out of it. So now we have a completely round exhaust again. This side looks pretty good. And again, we got the fold out. If you guys remember in the first little bit of the video, this section right here was pinched way down and this was bent over. Now, the reason I'm stopping here, and we could go a little bit more to try to get this inner crease out of here, but the problem is right now is we're starting to see cracks in the titanium. Now, this is because these welds are usually done with a laser and there's no filler material, so it's just homogeneously welded. And we want to make sure that we don't go too crazy because we don't want to spend a ton of time, you know, re-welding and re-pie cutting and doing all kinds of other stuff and refitting it on the car, because at that point it's just more cost effective to buy a new exhaust. So we got that going for us. Now we got to get this thing in the vise and somehow straighten this out because it pushed this pipe, I don't know if you could see it, but it pushed this side of the pipe into the resonator. So we're going to have to try to bend that back out, and hopefully we can. Alrighty, so some hammering with the old BFH and a little bit of vise work and a 270-pound gorilla jumping up and down on it. We did manage to straighten it again, so you can see that pipe is now, you know, almost completely straight into the resonator like it should be, but again, we exposed another crack. So we're going to have to clean that up and weld that as well. Alrighty, so now that we got that section straightened out, we got our pipe straightened out back here, we're going to go ahead and clean this up and throw a weld on it. Now I have the back purge gas going, I'm sure you can hear it. And we're going to just take a Scotch-Brite on this real quick. Now these welds are not going to be perfect because the whole inside of this pipe is covered in exhaust soot and all kinds of other stuff. So we're going to have some pretty nasty impurities in our weld, and that's just something that's unavoidable when you're trying to fix an exhaust that's been used over and over and abused over and over and just broken 100 times and whatever else. But we do have our purge running right now, so I'm going to let that purge out for a couple of minutes while I clean this up, and then we're going to weld it together, and then we'll move on to the other side of the pipe. Now, just like any other titanium repair work, it goes really, really good until it doesn't. And you can see we started out pretty decent in this area here, and these, I'm sorry, but these are super hard to film, especially since the camera shadow gets in the way. But you can see that blob right there. That's where the metal was ground down and just completely fell away, and that was like the apex of our crack. That didn't sound right. And then, you know, it's okay. And then it kind of gets back to normal down towards the bottom there. We're literally just trying to seal this crack up, and we succeeded. But again, with, you know, the impurities on the inside, I watched it just disappear. So we had to fill that hole up. However, on the muffler side, or the resonator side, you probably can't even tell, but right down in here, that whole thing, that whole section right there has all been welded and repaired. So that came out really, really good, surprisingly. And then up here, you notice a raised bead on there, and that's for a very good reason. This entire exhaust system right here is super thin because it was dragged across the ground a bunch of times. So we had to build up some material there just so we'd stop blowing away. I mean, it's literally tinfoil thin. So we had to get some material in there pretty fast just to kind of seal everything back up and make sure it doesn't leak. But so far, so good. And the funny thing is this is where I had repaired it the first time, and it cracked right there. So this one we're going to treat a little bit differently. Now, it's pretty significantly damaged, and there's a pretty good crease going on right there. And, you know, we've got another crack right here. We've got this little piece of metal that's sticking out right here. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm actually sticking it in the vise and trying to square up this material. And just by straightening out that this weird kink in it right here, by squeezing on the edges of it, it's actually bringing these two pieces back in line again. So the more we squeeze on it, the better it's going to get, and I'll show you guys that. Alright, so here's a perfect example of that. So now I'm going to crank in on the vise. And what you'll see is that on the sides here, that gap will start to close. And that's what we want to do. And titanium is real springy, so we can actually go overboard and really squeeze it, and it will actually spring pretty much right back. So we're going to continue doing that until we get this as close as possible, and then we're going to tack it up and weld it. And there it is, there it is, there it is. It is not pretty by any stretch of the imagination, nor is the repair that we did last year, or the beginning of this year, whenever it was we did that one, but welding dirty titanium, not fun. Welding titanium with gaps in it, not fun. Welding titanium that has all of that black soot on the inside of it, also not fun. However, let me flip you guys around and we'll explain a little bit of something, because I'm sure y'all are asking why. I was asking why. But here's the reality of the situation. In all intents and purposes, or for all intents and purposes, that was almost like a starts like a glove moment. But for all intents and purposes, you would normally just take this exhaust system and throw it in the trash. However, a new one's $1,200+ plus shipping, if you can even get it, because they're, you know, all the Chinese stuff is crazy trying to get now and everything else. But anyway, before I get off on a stupid tangent, good friend of mine, and he just likes the sound of this exhaust. He loves the sound of this exhaust, and he wants it back on the car. And, you know, we've already fixed it once. This was a much larger repair than we had to do the first time, and also a much dirtier repair because the titanium had been dragged on the ground and ripped off by a trailer and, you know, bent, twisted, and mangled 37 different ways from sideways and everything else. But is it worth it to repair this? In this case, he likes the sound of it. It's hard to get another one. They're super expensive. And this isn't going to cost even half of what the exhaust cost new. And, yes, I mean, I guess it's worth it. You know, I personally would just throw it in the trash and make a new one. But that's me. I get stuff from cost, and I make it myself. So, a little bit of a different story there. Sorry, there was a mosquito. No longer a mosquito. Rest in peace. But, yeah, so we got it done. You know what? At the end of the day, he likes the exhaust. We got it done for him. We got it back together. Another good friend of mine remade the downpipe for him because I just didn't have the time. I was super, super busy. So he's going to be happy with this. We'll get it all tucked up in there. We'll get it back together, and everything will be good. So that's the end of that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit of an in-depth kind of, you know, mangled titanium repair. But, you know, some of the stuff that we do here. So if you would, guys, I know, like I said, like 80 to 90% of you guys that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to me. So do me a favor and subscribe. Just click the button. You don't even have to click on the notifications because I know those are annoying. But just click the subscribe button, click the like button on the video, and help me keep doing things like this so that I can keep showing you things like this and, you know, up in the game a little bit. But with that being said, it's Sunday night, it's getting super late, and I'm going to go home. So I will see you all on the next one. Have a good night.
Yeah.